Okay. Okay, so thank you, Jim. Thank you. Have you guys seen my crazy little 1 and 2 and 3 minute videos I've been putting out? I've got another one coming today. Everyone getting those? My little tips, my tips about you know what to do while you're waiting for a trade. Trade what you see, all of that stuff. I've got more coming. Got more coming. Thank you, Mel. Thank you. And in fact, as I'm sitting here in my little quote unquote recording studio, I've got this great little area. I've got this room that I built specifically for a little recording studio. It's got lights and I've got I've got cameras and everything set up. The only thing is, as you can probably hear right now, it's echoey. It's so darn echoey, and I've got sound panels and all this stuff, and it's just so echoey. Gosh, darn it. Anyway, what do? You can't win them all, but I want to make sure the message is coming across because there's a couple of important things we need to keep in mind, especially when we're kind of waiting on some of these trades. We're waiting on some of these setups and so on. Really super quick though. Cool. Thank you, Mel. That's good. Good. Thank you, Corey. So one little tiny bit of announcement stuff. There's a 100% chance I'm going to be in Moab this weekend because it's Memorial Day. Can we verify that? Is it Memorial Day? Do we have Memorial Day? Hi, Dennis. Good to see you, my friend. I think it's a holiday weekend. Yes. Okay. Good. So we will not have a Monday morning webinar. So there will be no live webinar Monday morning, but I will get a video and get some details posted Monday night, Tuesday morning, kind of a thing. And you know me, I'm never not watching the markets and so on. So I'll be updating on our trades and anything pertinent that happens there. But yeah, no Monday morning webinar. And in fact, we're heading out of town in just a couple of hours. So that'll be good. And I hope you guys all have a great holiday weekend planned and some good stuff going on, and just all of that should be great. There you go, Dorothy. Break even, just waiting for more profits. That's it. That's it. You just want to keep waiting for those profits, and they're coming. Everything's moving along nicely. Norbert, yeah. So Norbert, that's part of the idea. There is, yeah, we want to go down. I'm gonna take I think we're gonna get one of those little side-by-side deals they call racers or whatever and go right around Moab. And plus the mountain biking down there is supposed to be amazing, which I'm totally into now. And then you've got that Arches National Park stuff right there, which is only I think a couple of miles away from Moab. So I think we're trying to hit that up as well. So yeah, it should be fun. Should be a good time. So we're looking forward to it. Get outside, get some sunshine. I checked the weather too because I thought if it's raining down there, I'm just gonna, I'm headed to whoever doesn't have rain. You guys have rain out there in Arizona, Norbert? Because I might just head to your place. Because if it rains for 5 more minutes, I'm gonna probably lose my mind. But it's beautiful. Everything's green and beautiful, so I'll take that. But good grief. Dennis, that's a good idea. I will be honest, I have some rugs on the walls. I have some of those moving blankets on some of the walls here, and some sound panels, and it's still good grief, man. Yeah, just so much echo. Yeah, what is going on? What is going on, Mel? It's just rain everywhere. It's just, man, it's just so much rain. I know it. But you know what? Guess what? We all need the rain. I watched this crazy documentary on Netflix. There's this. It's called like Explained or something, right? And there's like 8 or 10 30-minute episodes, and they talk about water, basically, like fresh water on planet Earth. And they talk about, a couple of just kind of big, obvious things. And after watching that about the actual supply of fresh water on the planet, it got me freaked out a little bit. So I guess I'm kind of happy about the rain. But good grief, man, it's just been going nonstop. Okay, good, good. All right, as long as the echo's not too bad there. Yeah, it's just so much echo here. Okay, guys, let's get down to business. Some good things to discuss, some good things to talk about. Um, I'm telling you guys, it's been an interesting. I've been chatting with some of my trading buddies that that we've all been trading together um, for years, and we've been kind of talking about markets, the last couple of weeks, and how everyone's just, there's a lot of obvious things that happen, but they're not so obvious beforehand because we depend a little bit on certain details. Propaganda. I hope it's propaganda, Dennis, because if we run out of water, that's a problem. But anyway, we've been kind of chatting about the markets and everything. I've been talking so heavily about pre-summer movements and all of that stuff that we look at and that we get so much this time of year, right? April, May, June, pre-summer movement city. And 9 times out of 10 it happens on the US dollar and it happens on the Japanese yen, right? US dollar and Japanese yen are really the pre-summer movement pushers. And that kind of didn't happen this year, which was weird. I think I talked the market out of that happening. So we had so much, hype and excitement, but of course, at the same time, I didn't 100% expect it to be this year what it has been in past years, because the dollar is kind of being held hostage right now with this trade war with China, and it's just, there's so much uncertainty that it's really hard to kind of pick any type of direction, which is why we're just being a little extra careful with dollar pairs. But we are still playing in the dollar, and we've done okay. But the dollar has not moved like it does move typically in kind of the pre-summer conditions. Now, we did see the Australian dollar make a move. We saw, the Swiss franc made a bit of a move. We saw New Zealand make a bit of a move. And those are typically not ones that have big pre-summer movements. Typically, the dollar and the yen are kind of the big pre-summer movers, and then they'll drag along, the Aussie dollar, U.S. dollar, and the New Zealand dollar, U.S. dollar, and and the yen pairs. They kind of drag them along. But this year, the big instigators have really been kind of more the New Zealand dollar itself, the Australian dollar itself, the Swiss franc itself, and so we've seen, that the pre-summer movement kind of really took a different route, and it's not over, but it's kind of been taking a bit of a different route. Everything started a lot later. I talked about it all the way through March and April, and kind of nothing really happened. And then all of a sudden, coming into May, everything kind of starts to crank. So it's been a little bit of it's just been a little bit of a different month than what we normally see. And so we've been just trying to be super careful and just kind of play our cards right and be patient and wait for really, really good, reliable setups. And there's been some movement on other things in between. I've missed some good trades that I would have liked to take, but they just didn't meet my criteria, And so anyway, it's just been a little bit of an interesting month, but that's how it goes sometimes. Rumor 3 cuts for Australia in 2019. I've been reading a lot of that, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. Everybody's, really trying to kind of push that. We're going to cut rates. We're going to try to, get things back under control. We'll see. We shall see. For the moment, I pay heavy attention to central banks. I pay heavy attention to election news, and I pay heavy attention to employment numbers, right? And I'm watching all of that right now. We've obviously got an Australian dollar trade going, and I think it's great. I think it's a good little situation. But, we're going to watch. We're going to see if Australia is going to, really, follow through with some of the rate cuts. One thing that every central bank tries to do, and we've seen it happen a lot in the U.S. We've seen it happen a lot in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, UK. It happens everywhere. Central bankers will get as much mileage as they can out of talking about things without having to do things. So, you know, right now there's a lot of talk of rate cuts, and I think everybody's trying to kind of get some mileage out of it, right? What can we make happen in the market without having to do something, right? And so right now it's talk. We'll see if there's follow through. Definitely, we'll definitely see if there's some follow through there. But you know, as I said, and of course, you know, central bank news is one of the biggest drivers of anything, and so we watch that very heavily. But at the same time, you know, as I said in the little video yesterday, you know, we're going to do our best to kind of just stick with trading what we see, right? What are the charts doing? What are some of the setups that we see happening, and can we just trade those, right? Can we just kind of stick with some of those setups? One of the examples here is we've got this this Australian dollar US dollar trade. We've got two positions. Does everybody have two positions on the Aussie dollar? 70.10, 68.90. If you missed this 70.10 entry and you got in at a lower price, more power to you. And if you just have a lower entry, that's okay as well. Just, you know, is everybody clear on this? Everybody clear that we're in the Australian dollar, we're long, we're buying, we're, you know, just doing all this craziness here. And it's, you know, it's doing well. It's behaving well. We've got just all these great upper targets. I wanted to put the second entry on, you know, in anticipation. We had, you know, the elections for Australia popped up, and then it just came right back down. And we put another entry on. I kind of wanted to, you know, get that retracement, which it came down nicely, went another, you know, 25 or 30 pips, and then it's kind of started working its way back up. So we're in at 70.10, 68.90, and it's, you know, it's coming along nicely. So nothing too new to say here other than, you know, I like this level, and this is a big motivating factor of, you know, why we're in this trade. You know, 10-year support level. We're in it, we're holding it, we're going for it. You know, all that stuff. So we're going to look for, you know, a trade up into, you know, we'll kind of reassess things as we get back to our first entry, right? First entry right in this area here, which is a nice weekly pivot. And as we get there, you know, we'll be in some nice profit. We'll be in the over 100 pips of profit at that point. I'd like to get, you know, back up to at least this 70-80 zone, and, you know, be able to take about 200 pips on the trade, which I think would be a great thing. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and we'll of course, you know, you can't force the market to do something too much. So that's kind of the goal: get this Aussie dollar back up towards 7,100, make a couple hundred pips on this trade. But at the same time, it might just not make it all the way up there, but I think we should be able to make at least, you know, at least 100 pips on this and do well. Make some bucks. Dennis, acoustic. Is this some sound stuff you sent me over? Because that's good stuff. I have to say my father-in-law actually owns an entire acoustic company. He does all acoustic stuff for commercial buildings, and you'd think he'd hook me up with a little bit of stuff there. So, but yeah, thank you. I'll have a look at that. I need some ideas. I really gotta insulate this room here, handle those sounds. Okay, so that's Aussie dollar. That's kind of what we're doing there. We're just staying the course, going for it. Everything's looking good. I did put this pending order on New Zealand Swiss, right? 65.25 New Zealand Swiss. Here is a little bit of what happened with this New Zealand, or what's happening. It gave us a little bit of a bounce, right? We had a low here of 65.33, so it missed our entry by 8 pips or so. And but I wouldn't say that this is a missed trade by any means. It ran up and hit this little short-term market imbalance right here, which is nice. But I like I like this setup. I like the New Zealand Swiss. I think there is, probably a fairly easy 100 pips in here. And some of what we're looking at on this New Zealand Swiss is, we had this little kind of flash crash low right here, which is what I was kind of aiming for, and that's 65.15. Which is right where that weekly monthly pivot area was. A little flash crash came down and hit that. So that's why I put the entry 10 pips above that, and we still missed it by 8 pips. So it didn't get all the way down there. But it's, like I said, it's not a missed opportunity. I still think this is a great trade. So many excuse me, so many of these pairs are just coming down to these big long-term lows. Now we've got some big lows over here on New Zealand Swiss, and those go down, a lot. We've got this guy down here at 63, 30, and so on. So we're kind of dabbling in the middle here. But one of the reasons that I really, really like New Zealand Swiss is because the New Zealand Swiss, as with the Aussie Swiss, and I'm going to talk about that Aussie Swiss in a moment, these guys do not leave a bunch of missed targets. It's very, very uncommon that they do that. And New Zealand Swiss has a huge market imbalance and another huge market imbalance and a monthly or a weekly pivot and some other daily pivots in there. And this is super uncommon for this pair. This is a really efficient pair. We see a lot of these kinds of movements down, up, down, up, down. And it really just takes out all those targets along the way. And so to leave that many targets makes me think that we're probably going to see some interesting movement back up towards those. So again, I look at this and I say, okay, the Swiss franc has been kind of strong, and New Zealand's been kind of weak. So why the heck would I be buying the New Zealand Swiss? It's because this is what the charts are telling us, and sometimes that's just what we have to do is just, what are the charts saying? Go for it. Trade what you see. And so, we already had a nice little movement there. We're going to leave that pending order as is for the moment. If this runs up too much more, then we'll cancel / readjust that pending order and look for something else. But for the moment, we'll just leave that pending order, and we'll let this thing kind of play out and do what it does. But that's a little bit of the reasoning behind why I want to be in this trade and take this trade and so on. So New Zealand Swiss is looking really good. So that's what we're looking for there. So guys, the watch list this week, quite literally nothing super set up. That I had, and this is a little bit strange, by the way, that nothing really kind of set up on the watch list that I was really looking for. We talked about New Zealand yen and Aussie yen, and I kind of readjusted those charts. They had, if we go over here to the Aussie yen, we had, I was kind of looking for, there was some consolidation. I was looking for, a break of this decision point, right? This 76.35. We kind of had this falling wedge, and I thought, man, if we get above that, we're headed into some of these targets. And it just kind of kept going down. So I readjusted my chart a little bit, and you can see that we have a really clean, really nice descending channel here. That's going to be kind of our adjusted watch list for next week. Is looking for a trade opportunity here. But this kind of ended up pushing down. It didn't really push down. It just kind of went to the bottom of that range, really, is all that happened. So it's just kind of bouncing around this range. I think Aussie yen's getting interesting. I think it's getting interesting. So pushed a little bit lower. That's okay, because our watch list was, we want to buy this. We want to get long. And so that was, that it just kind of improved the potential entry for us. We still do have, on this Aussie yen, we still do have some pretty big levels down here that, that make me think we're probably going to hold off and just see if we can get this down there another little bit. But at the same time, Aussie pairs are kind of turning, and we'll see how things work. We'll see how things go. Yen pairs sometimes can be just better trades to use stop losses on. And so, we might just throw a stop on one of these yen trades, and if it can stay, above some support, we'll give it some room to breathe, of course. But if it can stay kind of in the right area, we might take that trade. Yen pairs just kind of go and go and go and go and go. Frank, Aussie dollar. Yeah. We did cover the Aussie dollar targets. I will go over that again. Yeah, hang on for us for a moment, and we'll look at that Aussie dollar again, and those targets. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So Aussie, Aussie yen kind of hanging in there. New Zealand yen, if you remember on New Zealand yen, I talked about, the watch list was, I think I adjusted this New Zealand yen as well. Yeah, and I did, and I think we were looking at kind of some similar stuff here. If New Zealand yen can, we were looking at that, yeah, there we go, 70, 72, 15, 20 area, which is basically, this little zone right here. If we got above that, I was getting pretty excited about some upward movements, and of course, it just kind of continued to dip down. But this is a pretty nice little falling wedge that we have here, and I think New Zealand yen's getting pretty interesting as well. So, we've got a couple of things, but again, these yen pairs also have some pretty vulnerable spots down here. New Zealand yen's got this really, really fantastic past resistance all the way back here, 2008-9, which turned into some really, really good support down here. And that's right at about the 7,000, just slightly below, or excuse me, just below kind of the 70 level. We're at 71, creeping up on 72. So if we get this down about 100 pips, I'd be pretty darn excited about scaling into this thing and just taking it straight north. So really like that New Zealand yen. I think there's some good potential on that. So again, so many of these things from the watch list kind of just either went sideways or continued a little bit further, which is great because it's just giving us better opportunities to buy bigger dips and to get in at lower prices and, closer to major support levels and so on. So that's awesome. And I think pretty much every chart here, every chart here, I'm trading up, right? New Zealand dollar, we want to trade that up. New Zealand yen, New Zealand CAD, euro dollar. These are all, nothing here is shorting. We're not shorting anything. We're buying everything. Everything is continued sideways or dipped down. And so it's just giving us better entries. So that's always good. I like that. Corey, that is totally not a bad idea at all. Yeah, for sure. If we saw, and I think the same thing with, New Zealand yen. I think, throwing a pending order in New Zealand, on New Zealand yen at 70, 0.05, right? And Aussie dollar, Aussie yen, I would potentially put, just kind of one of those just in case kind of pending orders, put something down at like 7,200. Yeah, you could definitely do that. I mean, it would take kind of a flash crash to get down there, but if it did, that'd be pretty awesome. So for sure, yeah. We're otherwise we're kind of waiting on those, and the lower they get, the more excited I am about buying them. But yeah, those could be some interesting flash crash potential entries if something like that happened. And by the way, we are absolutely not beyond having a flash crash, so that's not a bad scenario there for sure. Okay, so speaking of Aussie yen, New Zealand yen, all this stuff. So again, I'll just cover this real quick again for Frank here. Aussie dollar, we're targeting 7,000 as kind of our reassess things. Our first entry will be break even. Our second entry will be up a little over 100 pips. But really want to get this up to 70, 80, which is where we have a monthly pivot and a beautiful market imbalance. So yeah, I just want to kind of see that I want to see if we can get up there and really kind of have some nice runs. But so far, we're coming off that support really nicely. Everything's looking good. On our watch list as well was Aussie New Zealand, which is still sitting. Yes, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Corey. Yeah, these flash crashes can really kind of sneak in there for sure. Yeah, really good point. Aussie New Zealand, we're still pretty gung ho about this thing, but it hasn't done anything in days and days. So yeah, if we can get this down there just a little bit more, then we'll be buying into that. Aussie Swiss. So talking about Swiss pairs, as we mentioned, we have a pending order on New Zealand Swiss, and we're liking the Aussie dollar. I don't want to get overexposed to the Australian dollar in case we have some crazy wild things happening. But again, as we get into some of these big levels, remember Aussie Swiss is at its lowest point that our charts, not at its lowest point, but it's approaching its lowest point that our charts will register. So at least going back to 2001, the Aussie Swiss is at its lowest point, give or take a couple of pips, right? So we get these little crashy situations down here into kind of that 67 area. We could obviously see little dips down here into the 65s, but Aussie Swiss is looking very, very much like I want to get into it very, very badly. So I would love to see this thing go down just about another 100 pips, and then it is go time on Aussie Swiss. Super go time. Now we have some of these nice levels, right? A little bit of a, there's a little bit of a, oh my gosh, my free drawing is so bad. Oh, it's better. A little bit of a double top there, a little bit of a high that, this thing's kind of working its way lower, so we don't want to buy into this yet. But this guy is going to be major. There's going to be some major stuff happening here. And so if we get this about 100 pips lower, we're sitting at some of these kind of candle body lows and so on. So we might get a little more aggressive on this. But if it can move about 100 pips lower, the Aussie Swiss is top of the list of just easy, cooperative, nice little trades that we want to take, right? So we've got, some missed pivots. I think we've got some market imbalances, some big guys back here. All the way up here at 72, we've got a big market imbalance. We've got some pivots along the way. I really, really like this Aussie Swiss, including, I think we even have a little bit of a bar count here on this hourly chart. So creeping up on 300 bars on this one. So like I said, if I'm trying to kind of manage the exposure to to any single currency pair, which is why we have that New Zealand Swiss trade on, because it's fairly similar, but Aussie Swiss is closer to a major level. New Zealand Swiss is approaching a major level, but it's got a little bit further to go. Aussie Swiss doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're both, around 200 pips from those major support levels. But I really like both Aussie Swiss and New Zealand Swiss for movements back up towards some of that rebalancing. Keep in mind, guys, what's been happening in the global kind of political and economic situation. A lot of tension, a lot of uncertainty. Markets hate that stuff. Tension, uncertainty, fear, everything. Markets hate that stuff. But that can't last forever, right? And we've had a pretty intense run with what's going to happen with China, what's going to happen with, the UK, what's going to happen with, all the different elements of the US. There's all these different things kind of in the works, and that stuff burns out eventually. And so as these currency pairs, particularly these safe haven type situations, the Swiss franc, the yen, the yen is strengthening to major support levels. The Swiss franc is strengthening to major support levels. As that happens, the tension kind of burns out. The political uncertainty kind of has to take a breather, right? It has to either get resolved or it has to be put on the back burner for a little while. We can't be under intense scrutiny for months and months and months. And so That's why these things are all lining up so well, is because we're coming to these major levels. We're months into political just craziness. It'll be a great spot for the markets to kind of take a breath, react, buyers to jump in, all of that. You guys kind of see that bigger picture there, and why we're kind of looking at the trades we're looking at. Does that make sense? Everyone with me on that? Está bien. So that is a little bit of what we're looking for. Okay, so that being the case, we are definitely kind of waiting on a few of these setups to happen. We're waiting on a little bit of additional confirmation, and we're waiting to kind of just make sure that that we can get the highest probability, lowest drawdown kind of trade possible, right? So that's what we want. And that's, that's where I think it's very, very exciting that everything is kind of lining up the way that it's lining up, and and the outside situation is kind of what it is. If you guys were just spectators, right? If we all were just spectators, right? We would say, hey, this Aussie Swiss, this thing's going down. It's been going down, right? It's been dropping, and it's been working its way down since these little highs over here, which were just about a month ago, not too terribly long ago. Been coming down pretty good. A month ago it was at 72.75, and it made a dip all the way down to 60, about 6,900. So, a couple hundred pip movement there. If we were just watching this, we would be, we would start thinking to ourselves, geez, I wonder if it's time to buy. And then over the next little while, we'd see this thing come right back up, maybe maybe halfway of how far it's dropped, right? We think, oh, I'm starting to see a pattern here, right? Well, it's definitely no coincidence, right? This would be markets always kind of come back to certain levels, and they always do certain things, right? We get big drops, we leave big targets, we come to big support levels. They hit support levels, turn around, and work their way to some degree back up to those, to some of those areas. And so, we can participate in this, or we can, just watch it and see it all happen. But this is the essence of trading, right? Markets just go up and down, and they don't go up forever, and they don't go down forever. And so we've seen these down movements on Aussie pairs. We've seen these down movements on New Zealand pairs. They're all coming to major support levels. It's time to start trading things back up. Not today, but it's time to be ready, and we're really positioning ourselves for these kinds of trades. So it's exciting. I know it's been slow and been a little bit boring while we've waited for some of these setups, but it's exciting because these setups are huge. They're huge, and they're going to work, and we're going to make a lot of money and a lot of pips on them. But it's, it requires a heck of a lot of patience and waiting and so on. Who was it? Somebody posted in the chat last night, and it was so great. It was a quote from Warren Buffett. Was that Paul? Was that Paul? I think it was Paul. Are you in here with us, Paul? Paul, are you in? I think. Do I see? Oh, is that you, Paul? Anyways, it was a great saying about something about maybe you could remind us. I don't have the chat up here, but trading is about transferring money from the inpatient to the patient, something like that. And it's absolutely right. So if we can stay patient, if we can see the big picture, then we're super good, right? We're super good. We're going to be able to just kill it on all of these trades. So that's kind of what we're doing, and it comes with a lot of sitting and waiting, but that's the essence of it, right? I mean, remember, guys, in the trading psychology webinar, that I really tried my best to stress that trading to trade is never ever good, right? Keeping yourself busy trading doesn't ever usually end up to be a good thing. And so, and I think, and that's why I always want people to be in the group for a year, not to just do month-to-month stuff, because then they say, you know what, this is boring, right? I'm bored. I'm waiting for trades. What am I paying for here? I'm in this group. We're not trading, right? And then at the end of a year, when you've followed us and kind of been with us in the group and experienced what we do, and you say, hey, my account is up more money than it has ever been up in my entire trading career, then you start to say there might be a correlation between boring, waiting for trades to set up, taking the best trades you can find, and and not over trading. There might be something there. There might be something there. So that's what I try to kind of really push, in the group is let's, take my methodology, take my strategy. If there's some other shorter term trades that you feel like you really want to get into while we're waiting for these bigger trades, just try to use the methodology the best you can. And of course, any of the bigger, better, setups that we're really excited about, we're always going to take in the group. But, if you need to do something in the middle that is really high probability, go for it. But we're going to spend a lot of time waiting for big setups and waiting for big setups to pay out. And, and our accounts are going to grow in the process, which is awesome. Yeah, there you go, Paul. That's the saying. The market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. I really love that. That is so great. So great. Okay, guys. So that's a little bit of what we're looking at there. Aussie pairs. I'm super interested. Aussie Swiss is going to be heavy on our list. We've seen some Aussie CAD movement as well. Again, we're just trying to kind of not trade everything Aussie, but there's so many good setups on the Aussie pairs. But remember, at the beginning of this week, I said I like the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar's got some great setups, but I really like Australian and New Zealand pairs. They're all just looking awesome. And so we've got our Aussie dollar trade. We're looking for an Aussie Swiss. Keeping an eye on Aussie yen. Again, just kind of trying to keep that from going too overexposure to Aussie setups. And then the New Zealand setups are looking awesome. So our New Zealand Swiss, like I said, we'll leave that pending order that we have right here. We'll leave that 65.25 pending order. It missed us again by about 8 pips down here. But I don't think the trade has run away without us by any means. So we've still got that going. Excuse me. But the other New Zealand pairs are looking pretty interesting as well. I'm pretty, this was absolutely a chart from the watch list, and it has only just started to move for us. So remember this, guys, in the watch list, we had, New Zealand dollar, and we were saying, hey, where's this thing potentially headed to? Oh, whoops, there we go. Okay. We were looking for this big descending channel that's been in place for, a month and a half or so. And so now we have the New Zealand dollar, there's that big descending channel, and it has only started to break out right here. And I'm pretty darn interested in that. So that breakout, now the thing that I've been trying to wait for is a big, crazy double bottom here. I want to get this down to there, and we've got this 64.50 kind of area. We got down into kind of the into the 65, 64.85, 6,500 area, and it's kind of popped up. I thought, this thing is going to get to a double bottom. Let's just wait for it, and I'm starting to think it might be ready to rock and roll. However, on this little kind of breakout that we have seen, it ran up. We had a little market imbalance right there, but now it's kind of leaving some market imbalanciness through here. Whoops, there we go. Through there, and kind of in this general area here as well. So I'm just kind of wondering, are we going to get a little bit of a pullback? I might be ready to buy into the New Zealand dollar, U.S. dollar pair quite a bit sooner than later. So I think this is really such a great setup. We have so many great targets up above here, and just really liking that one. So that was on the watch list. It's barely started to give us some confirmation. I wanted to see it dip a little bit lower to give us that double bottom, but I think it might be worth scaling into maybe 100 pips above that double bottom. Or excuse me, or 50-ish pips, right? It's about 100 pips above the double bottom right now, but it might be worth getting into just before that, really hitting that double bottom and kind of scaling it down there. So big, super good targets up here. The New Zealand dollar is very much like the Japanese yen in that once it trends, it really kind of just trends and trends and trends. And so if it just kind of keeps pushing, we got to make sure we give it as much time as we need to kind of finally wear itself out. But big downward movement, double top, big downward movement here. Nice decision point, 64, kind of 50 area. So I think we might be doing something on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar early next week. I would probably rather take the New Zealand Swiss, which is our pending order, but we're going to be kind of hovering around, New Zealand dollar, New Zealand Swiss, as well as New Zealand CAD. So New Zealand CAD kind of made a little bit of a run. We had an interesting. Did you guys notice how CAD pairs went nuts this week? I mean, I don't know nuts, but they went. They had a pretty good move. We saw the New Zealand CAD, for example. It was down at about 8,700. Ran up here to 80. About 100 pip move up this week, and that was hugely in part due to the fact that we saw a big, massive move on oil. Anyone notice that on oil this week? Oil took a pretty big hit. So it was just kind of, it was kind of just doing nothing exciting, and then oil just, tanked from $63, $64 down to 57. Recovered a little bit and so on, but that really kind of got Aussie pairs cranking, CAD pairs cranking. And so we saw some pretty big movements on most CAD pairs there, and that was a big moving factor on this New Zealand CAD. I was looking to see if we could get the New Zealand CAD just a little bit lower, right? Just a little bit closer to this 8,600. We were down here at at about 8,700. I thought, let's get down to this. We have a little market imbalance. We have some stuff at 8,600. Let's get down there. We've got this big double top. Let's ride this thing down to 8,600, which I still think it's going to go down to. But that oil news, really kind of hit things, and we saw a big move on some of those CAD pairs. So I did want to get into this one. It just didn't get down to the entry that I wanted, which is why we didn't take it. But we've got some great targets up here on New Zealand CAD. We've got some great targets on most New Zealand pairs really right now, and so we'll be starting to look at that New Zealand dollar and see what kind of opportunities we have coming up there. So I like New Zealand dollar. I like New Zealand Swiss. I like New Zealand CAD. I like New Zealand yen. I like the Aussie dollar, Aussie yen, Aussie Swiss. I mean, those are big focuses for me right now, and they kind of remain so. But again, it's come with some waiting. It's come with some patience. It's come with let these moves get down there and give us the push that we want to see before we start jumping into them. So yeah, you can see pretty much everything here is an Aussie or a New Zealand setup besides the euro dollar. So, and that's kind of still the same there. So I'm sticking with that. I want to keep our eye on those. We've had a lot of wondering about what's going on with this dollar index. I have been a loud voice about, I think this is, heading down and taking a big move lower for us, but it has not done anything in quite a long time. But it's pretty interesting that the dollar index gave us a pretty perfect double top right here. I mean, that's just about to the pip. So a nice little double top right there. Maybe this is the time that the dollar is starting to make a little bit of a move for us. We'll see. We will see. But, you know, while the political situation's a mess, like I said, the dollar is kind of being held hostage, and it's not going to be able to do anything, I would say, too terribly significant until things get cleared up a little bit. So the super exciting news is we are at major levels. We're at major levels on so many different currency pairs and so many different setups. And so, you know, and those kind of remain, you know, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. So major, super duper important levels, which is awesome. And so we're just kind of waiting to, you know, let the market play out, get us just a little bit closer, and then we'll start really piling on the trades and, you know, letting some of these big moves play out. We've seen a good push in kind of that pre-summer volatility. You know, we'll see that might start to fade quite a bit over the next week or so, which is great because we're down at these major support levels, and it's a great time for things to just kind of start to kind of trickle back up, right? If there's a lot of volatility pushing and a lot of volume pushing through those levels, then, you know, then these trends are not going to reverse so easily. But as we approach these big major levels and we're kind of, you know, coming through the pre-summer volatility and getting to kind of the calmer markets, those are just the best areas to take those trades and get those big reversals. So that's what we're looking for, guys. And that's kind of the thought process. What do you guys think? Questions, comments, thoughts? How's everybody feel about all that? Does anybody have a currency pair in particular that you're interested in? Don't hesitate. I'd love to hear what you guys think is interesting and what you want to potentially be trading and so on. I think there's some super good trades coming up for sure. But you know, I can get a little bit of tunnel vision sometimes, and so you know, don't hesitate. Is there some good pairs you guys are interested in and kind of want to trade? There, you know, and just to kind of say this really quick, there are you know, some that I don't watch super closely, but, you know, might be starting to get kind of interesting. Jim, is that me versus the U.S. dollar? That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Hey, Joe, nice to see you. I think it's very exciting now. I like the approach very much. Okay, good, Joe. Yeah, me too. I really think that we have some exciting trades coming up, and we have waited them out to death. But we do have some very good stuff in the works. So we're just kind of, you know, sometimes everything lines up and sometimes it doesn't. And that's when we're waiting, is when things aren't lining up. But things are getting to a point where they're so lined up. They're so lined up so well that it's almost ridiculous, right? And we should have several really good big trades coming from what we've just talked about this morning. So yeah, good stuff. Norbert, yeah, as far as kind of where oil might be headed and some of the things on oil's actually really technical, Norbert, and so that's awesome. It's super. Oil kind of behaves a lot, you know, and of course, oil is a very volatile instrument to watch and follow and trade. You know, the political side of things, you know, disagreements with OPEC. There's so much stuff that is involved in oil, but even with all of that, even with how political and so on it can get, you know, those things tend to be drivers to move oil, excuse me, to key levels. So even though political drama hits and all kinds of different things hit, it just kind of acts as a catalyst to get oil back to some sort of rebalanced area. So yeah, oil is actually, you know, it behaves itself fairly well. So this little move down, you know, not so surprising. We, you know, ran up pretty strong here, left a couple of missed pivots. That little move down just took out a monthly and a weekly pivot. You know, no major surprise there. All the rest of these have been hit. There wasn't really any missed targets, and it just kind of ran down and rebalanced that. So, you know, we'll keep an eye on you know, existing support and resistance levels, but oil, like I said, it behaves, you know, fairly well. and we're we're treating this just like we look at anything else. Here's a decision point. What's oil going to do? If it breaks below, probably headed down. If it holds, we could see it running back up to some of these other other targets here. So it's just that's just kind of how we do it. It's just kind of how we do it. James, thanks, man. Love this approach to the markets. I thought I had improved my patience, but now I realize how much is required. Yeah, it's really the case. It's really the case. Just it's just waiting for really good setups, and speaking of Paul's quote from Warren Buffett, which I think is so great. I don't know if you guys haven't watched the HBO documentary of Becoming Warren Buffett. I watched it and it was super interesting. And one thing he said, I spend all day in my office reading. I just read financial reports all day long. He said, I'll read for a year and then buy a company, and then read for another year and buy some stock. And he said, I'm kind of like the batter that just skips everything, and I just wait until it's right down the center before I even swing at it. And I think that's how we need to be as traders. We need to just there's nothing is pushing us to take a trade, right? It's just our own impatience and our own need for entertainment, really, and that mentality, right, of if we're here, we should be trading. And so, here with me, you guys will notice that we just don't trade when we shouldn't trade. And it doesn't mean that every trade is perfect that we take, but every trade that we do take is very, very well thought out and very, very planned out. I'm not going to say that I have the Holy Grail and that you'll make the absolute most money with me out of anybody else out there, but we've got a really solid strategy that works very, very consistently, and we just make money on it. That's the goal, really. So anyways, guys, good stuff. All right, great comments, great thoughts, great everything. Some really good stuff's coming up here. So we'll just stay the course. We'll stay with our trades, and we'll go for it. We'll really go for it. So glad to have you guys with us. Happy Friday to everybody. For all those in the U.S., happy Memorial Day weekend. Like I said, I will not be around on Monday, so we won't have a Monday webinar, but we'll have a video update. I might throw in a webinar in the middle of the week there to make up for it. And then, of course, we'll have our regular Friday stuff. And, of course, we'll have tons of updates and pending orders and all kinds of stuff. So should be great. But thank you, guys. Nice to see everybody. Nice to be with everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. You guys are all awesome. And thanks for your input and your thoughts. And it's always good to see everybody. So take care, guys. Enjoy yourselves. Kevin, have fun. Get back to some sunshine. Jim, good to see you. Jennifer, have a wonderful, I know you're out there in California. Hopefully it's not raining on you too much either. Jack, good to see you, Jack. Hey, my man. Nice to see you. And Jed, good to see you. Have a great rest of your weekend as well. And George, Dwayne, my friend, happy Memorial Day to you. And Dorothy, Dennis, Corey, guys, good to see you all. Chris and Chris, good to see you guys. And I think we even have Art in there. Hey, Art. Chad, good to see you guys. Thanks for being on, everybody. Shirley, Sim, have a wonderful weekend. Steve, Paul, Norbert, Mel, good to see everybody. Sorry to leave anybody out there, but you guys are all awesome. So thanks for being on. And just have fun, guys. Have a great weekend. I'm gonna burn those trails up, Kevin. I'm going for it, man. We're gonna do it. So should be fun. Good to see you, Art. All right, you guys, take care. We'll see you all. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. See you back here next week. Take care, guys.